Ta-da. Howdy, y'all. I'm Paul Thompson, and this is my Project Hell. And for the next 20 minutes or so, Kelly and I are going to throw away that corporate lingo and just talk no-nonsense project management, hopefully giving you guys some plain solutions that help solve real project problems.
And I'm Kelly Schockler, and today Paul and I have what we hope will be interesting to you, hot topic. And we've got a special project manager in Coaches Corner who's going to offer up their perplexing project management issue. And then Paul and I might do a little internal prayers that we'll have some reasonable answers to help lift them out of their abyss. A little reminder to those who made it here live today, please use the Zoom chat to ask questions, offer up your 2 cents. And then you can also use the Q&A feature to try and stump us with some questions if we've got a little time at the end. All right, so with that, Paul, what's brewing in today's cup of hot topic?
Cup of hot topic. I like
Cup
that.
of hot topic. Yeah.
Cup of noodle soup. Never-ending project, right? We've all been on them, but let's talk about the definition of a project to start with, right?
I think that sounds good.
Projects are temporary efforts. This is according to PMI and pretty much everybody who's ever written a definition for a project, right? They have a beginning, a middle, and end. They have a team, a budget, a schedule, all designed to get something done and then move on. This is not routine operations. So by definition, projects should end, right? We should be
yes.
Boom. But it doesn't always happen. I think we've all seen it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the reasons why this happens. And from my past in my career, what I've seen is a lot of times projects get into this endless loop because they're trying to boil the ocean, right? There's this fallacy that it's more efficient to do everything at once than to break it up into bites or to attack things by phases or piecemeal. The other thing I've seen is what I kind of refer to as Newton's law of inertia, right? A body in motion will stay in motion until acted on. And how many times have you guys seen where your team is fragmented, right? And their manager has them oversubscribed to various projects and operational issues. They're constantly starting and stopping. They're getting pulled away. And it just drags on forever. Nobody's ever really able to give the focus, the time they need to finish things. And you're just constantly in this never-ending loop of that'll get done next month. Some of the other things, and I think Kelly and I have talked a lot about this one. It's that unsupported or unrealistic project culture that an organization might have. And by that, I mean, you've probably seen it, right? Where an admin is placed into the PM role because from that organization's perspective, PM is meeting schedule, take notes, and send out status, and that's it. Or they take the most technical individual on the team and make them the PM. And while they know the product or the activity, they don't have the training in management, in leadership skills. They don't know how to deal with a budget or how to influence decisions, things like that, that are required. Or they're just one project manager on a project that has 12 work streams, that's all across the country, that really needs to have multiple layers of management. And they just threw one project manager on it because somebody said, you got to have a project manager. It's those kinds of things that oftentimes really lend to this project that will never, never die. Kelly, what are some of the things that you've run into?
You're gonna let me talk?
I know. I get passionate about this.
I know, it's good. We've all probably been on those never-ending projects. So when I was thinking about this, when I've been on the never-ending project, I don't realize it at first, right?
Right.
It's got there's this period of time that has to go by before you start feeling like, oh, this is the never-ending story. I'm in the magical land of Fantasia. My project is being devoured by the nothing. I've got deranged leaders operating as mages running around and off-based oracles ruling the office. And these are your cues to know maybe you've entered this land of never-ending project when week over week, month over month, nothing's changing, right? And you just feel like it's this backward motion. There's no net gain on your project timeline. So Paul and I, we've been on projects like this. I'm pretty sure you have too. And it's not only frustrating, I have felt very demoralized by this from a PM point of view. You don't feel, because you're not delivering anything. It's like kryptonite to my project management soul. So again, some of the causes, not having a project sponsor or an owner, when you don't have a leader or champion to declare this project as a priority and help drive cross-functional accountability, then seeing it through is going to be a problem. I think we can all connect the dots on this one, right? When you've got a clear project owner who's not confused about the priority and is working to help move those blocking issues, they're championing the project in the organization, that's going to minimize that ambiguity about what's supposed to be happening, right? Yeah. Or what if you do have a sponsor or an owner, but the project's not a priority in their mind? Yeah. Right? So it drags on. There's no urgency to commit resources or put support behind it. That's a fun one to be on as a PM, right? So, and here's where I want to say, put on your PM big person pants and line out for leadership how they're wasting money by even keeping this on the radar. Now, are you cutting yourself short because then maybe you won't have anything to work on? You might think that, but that might be an unbased fear. There's plenty for you to do, right? Usually, unless you're a consultant, but they'll appreciate if you call it to the attention that, you know what, this is dragging. We're wasting money here. We're wasting people's time. Let's move on.
Good point.
And then one more last point, and then I'll let you have the floor back. Another anchor dragging project on the never ending spectrum is that scope creep. So when you don't have the formal change control to govern all your well-meaning stakeholders, and they want this feature, this bell and whistle, and this is the best thing ever. And Paul, you want to say more on that? Handling.
I do, and I'm glad you brought up scope creep, right? Because so we've talked about what causes it and things. How do we fix it? How do we at least minimize it? Because you pointed out, right? If we don't point it out as project managers, it's on us, and it's our responsibility to at least shine the light on it. So what you can do is get your scope doc real clear, right? What's in scope, what's out of scope. Now that might change over time, but as Kelly said, you have a change control process that keeps these things in light. And we'll talk a little bit there, but get your boundaries set. Define what done looks like. How many times have you worked on something and nobody's really sure what it's going to look like when it's done? And it doesn't have to be War and Peace novel. It needs to just be, what's the feature list? What are the requirement lists that need to be done, right? These are gotta haves, these are nice to haves. Or the deliverable list, right? We're gonna have a 2-story house with 14 bedrooms and 27 bathrooms. I'm all for that one, but
I'm not. It has to be clean.
I gotta clean them sometime, right? I just keep moving around. Or the goals for, we had one that, we ran, and it's going to be running in the new data center, tested and accepted. And that was a goal we set for saying this thing was done. And we could hand it off to operations so that it didn't keep coming back to us 2 weeks later. Oh, can you fix this? It moved last month, right? It's all about defining how you're going to say you're done. Kelly, I think you pointed out too, right? Set your priorities, set them hard and keep them. If this is the number one project in the land, great, act like it, right? Command the resources. If it's number 47, that's okay too. Just don't let anybody push and pull this thing along at a pace that it's never going to keep up with, right? Set the expectation to what the priority is. And of course, if you have 200 number one projects, you don't have any projects. And we all know that. Cost is a big one that is seldom brought up and brought to the visibility level that it needs to be. If you set the visibility of the cost of each change way up there, people start to back away when it's not, oh, I just slid my favorite little pet project into this. And finally, Kelly said it, change control and make it hard, not complex, but make it hard for somebody to inject change without getting to the top of the food chain. So
yeah, so let's just bring this all home. So
right.
Regardless of where you're dropped in a project, go through your check right list. Is this a project? Make sure your project is a project. Does it have a beginning and an end? Is it something unique? Or is it an operational effort? Do you have an engaged project owner or sponsor to help drive this? Do you understand the project priority in the portfolio? The lower the priority, the less attention and resources you're going to get. And last, how can you be intentional about controlling changes in the absence of having anything in place, right? And last, just we'll end with this, Paul, broken internal processes are preventing delivery.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you work, can't really overcome those very well. So anyway, let's move into Coach's Corner. We spent some time on that one. So today in our Coach's Corner, we have a seasoned senior technology project manager, Steve, who's been dealing with the aftermath of a very intense post-implementation go live. And that's why he's not live with us today. But we have the next best thing to Steve. We've recorded Steve. Steve was able to share his project hell issue with me earlier this week through the magic of modern day technology. So Kate, let's play that recording of Steve sharing his Coach's Corner project hell question. Hey, Steve, welcome to Coach's Corner on my project hell.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that you were able to give a few minutes here this morning to pre-record your issue that we can share during our live show this Thursday with our listeners. So tell me, what's going on in your project hell universe?
Well, business requirements have a pretty significant impact on so many things that we do as project managers. They drive the work breakdown structure, they drive what you're going to develop, how long development is going to take based on the assumptions presented in the requirements. They inform testing, and then they influence the quality of the go live. And so my question is really, when organizationally the requirements are maybe suboptimal and they're having some negative implications for those other parts of the project and managing that project, what are some things that people have done to really bring up the quality of business requirements that are driving projects?
Well, this sounds like it might be timely for you wherever you're at in your project, I'm going to guess. And it's a great question. I love that you're bringing it to the table. What phase of the project are you in right now?
So we just went live, and I came in towards the tail end of the project. So development was just winding down. I came on board a couple weeks before the development ended, and then was responsible for managing the project from that point forward, and we just went live. So now we're kind of seeing, we see the impact of the business requirements through the testing phase. I saw that firsthand. I saw it at the go live, and realizing that we'd missed some key requirements during the go live process.
Okay, and so are you saying there are some requirements, but not all, or there's no written documentation for the requirements?
There's as far as I can determine, there's very little written documentation to draw back on. Certainly nothing like user stories or a really comprehensively documented set of business requirements.
Okay, so you got dropped into the deep end. You're coming in and here you go. And oh, by the way, no business requirements. Have you been able to talk to any managers or leadership about what's going on? I just want to make sure I understand if there's anything that you have done to try and mitigate the lack of documentation.
We're getting ready to do some debriefs and have some conversations, kind of start gathering our lessons learned from the project. So we haven't started anything officially at a senior level yet, but there have been a couple of side conversations to kind of plant seeds.
Okay, I'm sure that will be very revelatory. Okay, well, I think unless there's anything else you want to share, I'll go back into the episode here with my partner, Paul, and we'll see what we can come up with.
That's great. I look forward to getting advice from everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. All right, armchair quarterback time. Yikes.
Well, so Kelly, the first thing that jumps off the page for me is Lewis Carroll's quote: "If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there." And it sort of feels like what trying to implement a project without requirements is like. Now, it can be good news or bad news, right? You're sort of poking around, playing pin the tail on the donkey, but you also can't be wrong because there's nothing to measure against. But it's really a deeper problem, right? And it seems to stem most likely from what we talked about earlier: corporate culture mismatches, right? No decision-making on getting Steve the requirements he needs, no ownership and accountability of those, firm fixed requirements around whatever features are going to be implemented, those types of things. And it also sounds like there's no consequences for that kind of inaction, but I'm going to guess there's probably big consequences on leadership that make the wrong actions. So you get a lot of this, well, I don't want to commit to it. We'll just see what happens. That's sort of one of the problems I really see here. But what was your take on some of this with Steve?
This doesn't sound like fun at all. Being dropped into what I'm going to call a requirements-free project.
Right.
And he's coming in after development. So, going into some testing UAT with the customer, thinking the go live date is probably set. And so, well, in this case, it's all retrospective thinking here. We're literally learning from Steve's experience right now. And we're saying, how can we do this differently next time when we're in this situation? So Steve, I'm just going to give you some gratitude right now for coming forward with this and helping all of us out here that might come into this situation. But here's what I do. I make space to have a really robust user acceptance testing plan. Have that features and functionality list you talked about, Paul, I think earlier in our hot topic, a demo walkthrough of whatever it is we're delivering on, and review all of that with the customer to ensure all the core customer business processes are represented, and then gauge where they are in agreement and get sign off. No doubt this conversation is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But my thinking is this isn't the customer's fault. So being open with them and going through this validation, using what you have, I really think it's essential to getting towards some semblance of a positive outcome. Steve's in post go live. He's got battle wounds. Maybe they're starting to turn into scars, but Steve, look at this as a way of paying it forward and helping your fellow PMs. And as far as the organization goes, what can you do to prevent future requirements-free projects from happening?
Right.
The cost to the organization is huge. Wasted money, loss of credibility and trust, rework. Is this an opportunity for you to leverage this learning moment to establish a best practice in your organization?
Great. I'm going to drop a few quick tips that I think would help. We mentioned it before, definition of done, right? But he can't do it. He can get the team around there. the business needs to define what is it they want, what's good enough, right? And how long are they willing to wait for it? And you tend to get a sliding scale, right? We want perfection. Well, that's going to take 6 years. We want it to be here. Get them to do that. What I have found in projects like our data center migration is if we set up the framework for the business to then come in and hang the curtains, that works really well. And by that, I mean, in order to move your application from one data center to the next, you will have to test it before it moves, test it after it moves, and sign off that it meets your minimum requirements. And then we kind of have the, or you can just let us move it and you'll accept it as is. It gives them that opportunity to define what they're going to test. We haven't said we're going to do the testing because we don't know the application, but we do know you have to test it before so you have something to compare to afterwards, and you're going to be there with us to then sign off and check. So get them to own the problem, make it simple for them, but they're going to be the ones that really hang those final curtains and say, this is what's going to make it effective for us to use it going forward.
Yeah, you know what? Good job, Steve, for tripping through on this one. I think it's a great learning experience for everyone.
Well, looks like we're heading down the home stretch here, as Katie's pointing out to us, Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to let you wrap it up with, you want to wrap up our thoughts, or you just want to wrap it up entirely?
So, Steve, you know, good on you. Kelly's pointed it out, right? But what you don't have can hurt you and will, but put a light on it. Make sure you assign the things to the people who should be assigned to. Step up, get everybody on board, and keep bringing it to your leadership's attention, right? That's really your best value to the organization, even though they may not see it right away. But you're carrying that banner that's really helping all the project managers behind you. So thank you.
And you know what they say about hindsight.
2020.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for all of you who were here live today with us. And for those who are tuning in and watching on our YouTube channel, that's a great place to also catch all 30 of our My Project Hell episodes. And Paul and I want to extend an offer to everyone listening right now, free problem solving time with each of us. We've got links to our calendars in the post-show email where you can schedule a call to troubleshoot anything.
That's right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know Kelly and I had a great time. Please join us next time when our hot topic is going to be the PM in distress, sending out the bat signal as we go. All right. Now, if you guys do want to participate in Coaches Corner, please reach out to us. myprojecthell@gmail.com. Drop us a note or hit the registration off of our My Project Hell website. And we would love to have you on our show.
Yes, indeed. Take care, everyone. Thank you.